Let's talk about trust. It's a fragile thing, isn't it? You trust that your coffee won't taste like lukewarm despair. You trust that the pilot flying your plane has, actually flown a plane before. But what about the big stuff? What about the people who claim to have all the answers? I'm talking about the leaders who stand on stages, one hand on a holy book, the other reaching for your wallet. And I'm also talking about the self-proclaimed geniuses in turtlenecks who preach logic and reason right before they sell you a phone that will explode. It seems we're surrounded by people demanding our belief, whether in a higher power or in their own supposedly superior intellect. The problem is, both sides of this coin can be just as rusty and tarnished as the other. On one hand, you have the preachers of faith, promising eternal rewards for a small earthly donation. It's a fantastic business model, really. Your product is delivered after the customer is, no longer able to ask for a refund. On the other hand, you have the champions of cold, hard reason. These are the figures who mock superstition, who tell us to follow the data, and who then use that same data to justify policies that are about as logical as a chocolate teapot. They sell us an illusion of enlightened progress, but often, it's just the same old greed wearing a lab coat. So we find ourselves in a magnificent circus of hypocrisy. The pious leader who preaches family values is discovered in a Vegas hotel room with someone who is decidedly not their family. The tech CEO who talks about making the world a better place is simultaneously running a company with the ethical standards of a hungry piranha. It's enough to make you want to give up on both faith and reason entirely and just go live in a cabin in the woods. But before you start packing your bags and learning how to wrestle a bear for berries, let's take a closer look at how these systems get so spectacularly corrupted. It's crucial to understand that this isn't a failure of faith or a failure of reason itself. It's a failure of people. It's the age-old story of power corrupting absolutely, whether that power comes from a divine mandate or a PhD in astrophysics. When someone realizes they can use a belief system, any belief system, to control others, the temptation is often too great to resist. They become actors playing a part, and we, the audience, are expected to applaud and pay for our tickets. The real trick is learning to spot the bad actors before the final act, when they've already run off with our money and our trust. Now let's dive into the sparkling, rhinestone-covered world of televangelism. This is where faith gets a corporate makeover. You have charismatic leaders on television standing in front of massive congregations, telling people that God wants them to be prosperous. And how do you achieve this divine prosperity? By planting a seed of faith, which, coincidentally, is the exact size and shape of a $20, $50, or $100 bill. They promise that if you give them your money, God will reward you 100-fold. It's basically spiritual multi-level marketing, and the person at the top of the pyramid is always the one with the private jet. Think about it. These prophets live in mansions that would make a Roman emperor blush. They fly in private jets they claim were gifts from God, conveniently forgetting to mention they were purchased with donations from elderly viewers living on Social Security. They sell anointed water, miracle cloths, and books that promise to unlock the secrets of divine wealth. It's a shameless commercialization of hope. They prey on the vulnerable, the sick, and the desperate, telling them that their faith isn't strong enough unless they prove it with their bank account. It's a grotesque distortion of what faith is supposed to be about: compassion, community, and humility. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. They preach about the virtues of poverty and helping the poor, all while wearing $1,000 suits and diamond-encrusted watches. They quote scriptures about it being easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven, apparently forgetting they own a fleet of luxury cars that could not fit through a needle, a tunnel, or a small country. It's a performance, a carefully crafted show designed to extract maximum profit from an audience that desperately wants to believe in something, anything that will make their lives better. And here's the truly infuriating part. When they are caught in scandals, and they almost always are, they show no remorse. Instead, they go back on television, tears streaming down their faces, and blame their downfall on a spiritual attack from the devil. They ask for forgiveness, and, you guessed it, more donations to help them fight this great evil. It's a masterclass in emotional manipulation. They have turned faith into a product, salvation into a transaction, and their congregations into a customer base. It's not just wrong, it's a spiritual betrayal of the highest order. But let's not pretend the secular world is a paradise of perfect integrity. Oh no. For every televangelist selling snake oil, there's a thought leader selling a different kind of miracle cure. Pure, unadulterated reason. These are the people who claim to have transcended messy things like emotion and bias. They present themselves as walking supercomputers, making decisions based only on data, logic, and evidence. They write books with titles like The Logic Code or Rationality Unleashed, and they host podcasts where they calmly explain why everyone else is an idiot. It's a very appealing brand. The problem is, this cult of rationality is often just as much of a sham. Take some of the titans of the tech industry, for example. They speak the language of algorithms and efficiency. They hold conferences in sterile, minimalist rooms where they talk about disrupting old industries and building a new, more logical world. They are the new high priests of progress. Yet, these are the same people who create social media platforms designed to be as addictive as slot machines, fully aware of the data showing the negative impact on mental health, especially among young people. That doesn't sound very rational. Their logic is conveniently flexible. When it comes to maximizing profits, they are ruthless calculating machines. They will use algorithms to exploit workers, avoid taxes, and crush competition with the cold, hard efficiency of a Terminator. But when they are confronted with the ethical consequences of their actions, like the spread of misinformation or the erosion of privacy, they suddenly start talking about complex challenges and unintended consequences. They use the language of reason as a shield to deflect responsibility. It's a way of saying this is just how the system works, without admitting they are the ones who built the system. This misuse of reason creates a dangerous kind of hypocrisy. These leaders present themselves as objective and neutral, while pursuing agendas that are deeply personal and self-serving. They promote a worldview where anything that can't be measured in a spreadsheet, like empathy, community, or human dignity, is dismissed as irrelevant. They build empires on the promise of a smarter, more efficient future, but the foundation is often laid with the same old bricks of greed and exploitation. Reason, in their hands, isn't a tool for enlightenment, it's a weapon for domination. So, if the loud preachers and the slick CEOs are failing us, where do we look for hope? The answer, as it often is, lies not on the grand stages but in the quiet corners of our communities. It's in the people who don't have a TV show or a billion-dollar company, but who live their principles every single day without needing an audience. These are the individuals whose actions speak so loudly that they don't need to shout. They are the true embodiment of integrity, whether they find their motivation in faith, reason, or a simple sense of human decency. Consider the local pastor who runs a homeless shelter not for show, but because they genuinely believe in serving the least of these. They don't have a private jet. They might drive a 10-year-old car. Their church isn't a mega stadium. It's a small building where the roof sometimes leaks. But the doors are always open, and there's always a hot meal for anyone who needs it. Their faith isn't a brand, it's a practice. It's a quiet, consistent commitment to compassion that asks for nothing in return. These are the people who truly live their creed, far from the glare of television cameras. Similarly, think of the scientist or researcher who dedicates their life to their work not for fame or fortune, but out of a deep-seated curiosity and a desire to make a genuine contribution to human knowledge. These are the people working late in a lab, meticulously rechecking their data, driven by the pure pursuit of truth. They aren't trying to become a celebrity thought leader. They might be terrible at public speaking, but their commitment to the scientific method, to honesty, rigor, and intellectual humility is absolute. Their reason isn't a weapon, it's a lamp lighting the way to understanding. These individuals, whether religious or secular, share a common trait: their principles are not for sale. Their integrity isn't a costume they put on for public appearances, it's the very core of who they are. They include the atheist doctor running a free clinic in a poor neighborhood, the Buddhist monk quietly tending to a community garden, or the school teacher who spends their own money on supplies for their students. They are not defined by the belief system they profess, but by the character they demonstrate when no one is watching. They are the proof that genuine goodness exists, and it is almost always humble. So, after navigating this minefield of hypocrisy, what are we left with? It's easy to feel cynical, to want to dismiss all leaders, whether they wear a clerical collar or a hoodie. But that would be a mistake. The problem isn't faith, and the problem isn't reason. The problem is the con artist who uses them as a mask. Our task, as critical thinkers and responsible citizens, is to get better at looking past the masks and judging the person underneath. We must stop being distracted by the labels people give themselves and start paying attention to their actions. This means we need to ask better questions. When a leader, any leader, asks for our trust or our money, we need to be skeptical. Does their lifestyle match the values they preach? Who benefits from their actions? Are they willing to admit when they are wrong, or do they double down and blame others? A person of true integrity, whether devoutly religious or staunchly secular, will have answers to these questions that stand up to scrutiny. Their life will be a testament to their beliefs, not a contradiction of them. A charlatan's life, on the other hand, will be full of excuses. We must demand a higher standard of character. It's not enough for a religious leader to quote scripture beautifully, they must also live a life of compassion and humility. It's not enough for a secular leader to talk about data and logic, they must also demonstrate ethical consistency and a genuine concern for humanity. We should be far more impressed by the quiet volunteer at the food bank than the celebrity pastor on a private jet. We should admire the principled scientist who admits uncertainty more than the tech guru who claims to have all the answers. Ultimately, this is a call to action for all of us. Stop sorting the world into believers and thinkers and start sorting it into the sincere and the insincere. Judge people not by the flag they wave but by the way they treat others. Look for integrity, humility, and compassion. And most importantly, apply that same standard to yourself. Because in a world full of noise, hypocrisy, and performance, a life of quiet, consistent character is the most powerful statement you can possibly make. Don't just believe, don't just think, be genuine.